3 bone-chilling déjà vu cases that haunt you forever, shocking truth revealed now. It was a night like no other in the sleepy town of Milfield. The air crackled with anticipation, the kind that tingles down your spine. Somewhere in the shadows, secrets awaited, and as the clock struck midnight, a haunting reminder echoed off the abandoned buildings, déjà vu, that eerie sensation of reliving moments you'd never want to experience again. Each tale that followed would chill your bones, captivating the curious and enthralling the brave, as if fate itself conspired to entwine you with mysteries best left untouched. Jenny Carter, a quiet waitress with a penchant for the unknown, had her life flipped upside down the day she walked into a diner she'd never set foot in before but recognized all too well. The clink of silverware, the murmur of conversation, it was so familiar, yet so far from her reality. Her heart raced, a heavy weight in her chest, as a vivid memory surged, 3 friends beaming at a table, laughing over slice after slice of chocolate pie, their faces like snapshots stuck in her mind. But Jenny had never seen them. "I need to get out of here," she gasped, the clamor drowning out her thoughts. And then there was Marcus, a firefighter whose passion for saving lives was overshadowed by a recurring nightmare that played itself out every single time he stepped into a burning building. The screams, the heat, the unmistakable scent of smoke, it all consumed him in suffocating waves. Every rescue felt like an echo of the last, pulling him back into a reality he was desperate to escape. Why did his dream seem to hold the key to something much darker lurking in the corners of his soul? But the most chilling case of all came from Evelyn Summers, an unsuspecting librarian who stumbled upon a forgotten book hidden amidst dusty shelves. Its pages turned on their own, twisting with a mind of their own, revealing cryptic messages and haunting illustrations that came alive before her eyes. The images were not just figments of imagination, they mirrored her life in ways she couldn't explain. As she flicked through the pages, her heart raced out of control while words scribbled in the margins echoed warnings from the past: "You cannot escape what is already written." Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Back in Milfield, as the night deepened, shadows lengthened and secrets thickened like fog rolling in from the sea. The tension hung heavy, and each person felt the weight of the stories swirling around them, intertwining destinies that could not be unlocked. Would Jenny escape her déjà vu? Could Marcus break free from the nightmare that gripped him tighter every time? And what dark truth lay within the pages for Evelyn? Each of them might be on the brink of discovery or disaster. The air felt electric, full of whispered dread. What awaited them next would change their lives forever. Jenny stumbled out of the diner, the night air hitting her like a slap. Every step felt heavy as memories jumbled in her mind like pieces of a shattered puzzle. The laughter of those strangers echoed in her ears, rich and haunting. She felt drawn back, yearning to return, yet afraid that the familiar would swallow her whole. Her heart pounded, the shadows of the street lamps danced strangely, morphing into the faces of those friends she'd never known. Was this a warning? A sign? Meanwhile, Marcus stood outside the fire station, gripping the metal railing as memories of the last blaze flickered in his mind. He had gotten out just in time to pull the last victim from that inferno. But it felt different now. This wasn't just a job. The flames had whispered to him, taunted him about what had happened before. What if he's not just reliving a nightmare, but living his worst fear? Marcus. A voice called through the haze of his thoughts. It was Jake, his partner, looking paler than normal. "You good, man? You seem off." Marcus turned to Jake, forcing a smile, but it felt more like a grimace. "Yeah, just thinking about that fire. I can't shake the feeling that it's not over." Jake frowned, unease settling between them. "You know we can't dwell on what happened. Each call is different. You've got to let it go. But Marcus couldn't. Each time he went into a blaze, he felt the same pull, the same sense of déjà vu. Suddenly, he felt trapped, like the flames themselves were closing in. Farther down the street, Evelyn clutched the ominous book close to her chest. It had called to her, whispering secrets that made her skin crawl. Each time she thought she grasped its meaning, her mind would spiral back to those cursed pages. With each turn, the drawings twisted into grotesque images of her past, foretelling a future she couldn't comprehend. What if this book was alive? What if it knew her more intimately than she knew herself? The handwritten notes in the margins felt like a lifeline, yet also a noose tightening around her neck. You cannot escape what is already written. The thought thrashed inside her. Was her fate sealed? A slight shiver raced down her spine. As she meandered through Milfield's deserted streets, the wind picked up, carrying a chill that felt sinister. The quiet was broken only by the soft whisper of faraway footsteps. Or were they her own? It was impossible to tell. She pressed onward, battling the strange sensation that her reflection trailed just behind her. At that moment, all three characters, the waitress, the firefighter, and the librarian, were inching towards their breaking points, unwittingly tied together by a thread of fate and fear. Suddenly, the power flickered, and an eerie darkness enveloped Milfield. Gas lamps struggled to stay lit against the encroaching blackness. What was that? Jenny whispered, feeling the ground beneath her feet shift like shifting tides. Did they dare to face the encroaching shadows, or would they succumb to the darkness that loomed at their doorstep? Each stepping closer to answers, but what ugly truths awaited? The night seemed to call to them, coaxing secrets from the corners of their minds. As they approached the crossroads, the ground split and heaved, each character hearing the whispers of their fate, sealing them in an eternal loop of déjà vu. What was lurking just ahead? Would they break free, or would they become part of Milfield's haunting forever? The darkness felt alive, a thick fog pressing against them, suffocating and menacing. Jenny's heart raced as she darted her gaze across the empty street. Shadows seemed to stretch and pull, inching toward her like fingers eager to grab. The flickering lamps cast eerie shapes, weaving in and out of focus, leaving her uncertain if what she saw was real. She pulled her sweater tightly around her shoulders, remembering the laughter she had just fled. But now, here, laughter turned to silence. The shadows whispered her name. Jenny, Jenny. The sound scraped against her, a voice both foreign and familiar. She gasped, stepping back into the now heaving ground beneath her. Meanwhile, Marcus, still at the fire station, felt that same heaviness settle on his chest. The flickering lights mirrored the distressed thrumming within him. "Jake, did you hear that?" he urgently whispered, his voice strained. Jake squinted into the dark, his instincts on high alert. "Can't say I did," Jake replied, but his hands trembled on the railing. "Let us get ready. We might have a call coming." The tension wound tighter, with every second dragging like an eternity. With a sudden explosion of fear, flames seemed to leap to life in Marcus's mind, wrapping around the memories of the last fire. He clenched his jaw, resisting the pull. "No more. I can't go back. Not again." Just then, a siren blared in the distance, cutting through the thick tension of the night. Across town, Evelyn's pulse quickened as the haunting sounds of the siren seemed to awaken the book in her arms. It vibrated, thrumming with energy like a living thing. She could feel its presence, it both repelled and enticed her. "What do you want from me?" she whispered, backing away from an unseen force she could feel more than see. The pages rustled, whispering her name too, and she clamped her hands over it to drown out the noise. The winds howled, and Evelyn swayed, disoriented. She too could hear the distant echoes of her past, urging her forward. "You cannot escape what is already written." The voice was crystal clear now, unmistakably pulling her into a deeper haze. As the clock struck midnight, an explosion rattled the silence of Milfield, igniting a white-hot light that cut through the darkness. In that instant, all three characters felt it, a shock wave of energy surged through them, binding their fates tighter. They stood still, caught between their fears and the beckoning call of fate. Jenny leaned against the wall of the diner, feeling dizzy, the weight of overlapping realities crashing down. She closed her eyes, hoping to clear her mind. But instead, fleeting images flickered, warm smiles turned grim, loved ones became shadows. "This isn't happening," she murmured, her breath coming in short gasps. In that moment, the ground gave way, right beneath her. A fissure split the sidewalk, jagged and wide. Marcus heard the ground rumble, and his breath caught. What the hell? A hot rush of heat billowed from the crack like a malevolent grin, echoing the flames that had once hunted him. Evelyn felt the pull of the book, an unholy tether that promised to reveal all the truths of Milfield and their lives. But what would its revelations cost them? As the night tore open above them, Jenny's scream cut through the chaos. Everything had shifted, the threads of their lives tangling and knotting into something monstrous. They needed to face what lay within that darkness. What truths, what horrors awaited them? Endless questions raced through their minds as they stood on the precipice of an unknown fate. Would they conquer the abyss, or would it consume them whole? A dreadful tension brewed, the night was far from over. The ground rumbled as Jenny's scream reverberated against the walls of the diner. Adrenaline surged through her veins, pushing her feet to move, but all she could do was watch as the fissure widened, swallowing the flickering light of the world she had known. "Jenny!" Marcus shouted, panic slicing through him as he rushed toward the sound of her voice. His heart pounded an ominous rhythm, each beat echoing the dread pooling in his gut. Shadows danced around him, threatening to pull him into their grasp. "Hold on." There was only silence from the diner now, the kind that gripped the soul and twisted it tighter. Every breath felt heavy, suffocating. He stepped closer to the crack, glancing down into the darkness, fighting a surge of nausea. It was not just a hole in the ground, it felt alive, a gaping maw waiting to consume her whole. From his vantage point at the fire station, Jake felt a chill creep down his spine as he sensed something was wrong. He turned to his partner, eyes fierce and wide. "Something's happened. We need to go." "Calm down, man. You're overreacting," Jake protested, though his voice was unsteady. He could feel the tension in Marcus's body, the urgency vibrating off of him. "Just trust me," Marcus insisted, sprinting for the exit. He could hear the sirens blaring closer now, cutting through the mounting horror. Each step he took echoed the dread in his heart. He couldn't let Jenny get lost. Not again. Evelyn, still clutching the mysterious book, felt a jolt of energy surge through her. It pulsed against her chest, demanding to be acknowledged. As the ground shook, she stumbled back, feeling a connection with the fissure that was almost magnetic. "This isn't right. What do you want from me?" She called out to the dark. The wind howled another chilling reply, filling her ears with terrifying whispers. Revelation sacrifices. It was a chant, a ritual that wrapped around her like a noose. "You must know." She shouted, but her voice felt small against the chaos. The book vibrated again, more violently this time, as a cold sweat trickled down her back. The air thickened with the stench of smoke, a weight pressing down on her chest, squeezing out hope and replacing it with dread. Jenny, caught between fear and stubbornness, stepped closer to the fissure's edge. The air around her glowed with a strange light, twinkling like stars fallen from some distant universe. She leaned forward, curious yet terrified, wanting to uncover the truth but fearing the revelations awaiting her. As her fingers trembled over the crack, a gust of wind ripped through, scattering leaves and debris into the chasm. It roared back at her, mocking her daring. She stumbled back, heart racing. The pull of something unknown tugged at her conscience, as if the darkness was whispering sweet nothings, promising answers to questions she never thought to ask. "Do you really want to know?" A voice echoed from the depths. A chill icy as death shot through her veins. She turned, ready to run, her feet scrambling against the ground. Just as she did, a figure emerged from the shadows, dark and formidable. Its intentions were as unreadable as the night around them. Marcus dashed toward the diner, feeling the tremors of the fissure underfoot. What he would discover changed everything. Would he find Jenny, or would he plunge into a darkness he could never escape? Evelyn raised the book close, almost as if it could shield her from what lay ahead. "I have to face this," she whispered. But regardless, she couldn't shake the sense that they were already too late for escape. As the earth shifted beneath their feet, the night bore witness to their fateful convergence. The weight of choices loomed over them, and the darkness was hungry. Would they unlock the secrets lurking in the shadows, or would they be consumed by their own fears? A lingering question hung in the air, pulling them closer to the brink of revelation. What awaited them at the heart of the chaos? The air crackled with tension as Marcus reached the diner's entrance. His breath quickened, each inhale heavy with despair. The darkness before him twisted and swayed, a sinister force that seemed to beckon him in. "Jenny!" He cried out again, voice cracking with fear. He stepped inside, the familiar aroma of coffee now shadowed by an acrid scent that bit at his throat. The diner's once vibrant colors appeared muted, dimmed by the enveloping gloom. Broken tables lay scattered like fallen soldiers, remnants of a life that had just moments ago thrived here. The silence swallowed him whole. A palpable dread clung to the air, wrapping around him like chains. He hesitated, heart pounding, then moved towards the fissure stretching across the floor. It split the diner in two, jagged edges shimmering with an unsettling light that flickered in the darkness. The edges seemed to pulse, taunting him, the very embodiment of the abyss. "Jenny!" He called again, fear clawing at his insides. He knelt at the fissure's rim, peering into the abyss below. The darkness was fathomless, it felt alive and hungry. The shadows danced, swirling to form the faint outline of a face, distorted but piercingly familiar. It sent a shiver down his spine. Unexpectedly, a scream burst forth from the chasm, the sound echoing in a twisted mocking way through the diner. Jenny's scream or someone else's? Marcus shot back, heart racing and body filled with dread. Was it a trick of his mind? He squeezed his eyes shut, willing himself to focus. Outside, Jake and his partner stormed into the diner. Jake's instincts screamed at him something was wrong. "Where are you?" he shouted, panic mounting. His voice echoed, bouncing off the walls, but it was swallowed by that oppressive silence. "Marcus!" he yelled, tearing his eyes around the dim interior, searching for any signs of movement. The weight of the atmosphere pressed down, stifling any sense of hope. Meanwhile, Evelyn's connection with the book deepened. Its weight felt alive in her hands, each word resonating within her soul. "What do you want from me?" she demanded, gazing into the darkening sky. The winds whispered back, an icy caress brushing against her cheek. "You must choose." Suddenly, the fissure heaved, releasing a plume of thick, black smoke that spiraled upward. Panic surged within her like a tidal wave. She stumbled back, the book nearly slipping from her grip as every instinct screamed to run. But where? What path led away from this menace? And then she remembered her grandfather had spoken of shadows, of echoes in the dark, tales that twisted truths into terrifying realities. Was this ancient book the key or a mere gateway to something far more sinister? Are we destined to repeat our past? She murmured, eyes wide with the haunting possibilities. Back at the diner, Marcus leaned over the crack, desperate to see Jenny. "I'm coming. Just hold on." He felt the fabric of the ground shift beneath him, a rhythmic pulsing that matched his heartbeats. "Please don't leave me." The shadows began to swirl faster, as if they were alive, threatening to engulf him. "You can't save her," a deep voice boomed from below. The tone was ominous, echoing off the diner walls, slicing through Marcus's resolve. Time slowed in that moment, dread pooling in his stomach like lead. What dark truth awaited him? Would he plunge into that darkness to save her, or would he unleash horrors beyond his imagination? With every ounce of courage, he reached for the edge, heart pounding in his throat. And as the shadows closed in, a realization surged within him. What if the answers he sought were buried deep within the unfathomable? What if, by seeking the truth, he unleashed an evil beyond their wildest fears? the fissure gaped wider, revealing glimpses of another world, one that shimmered and shifted with malevolence. As he took a breath to call out one last time, an icy fear gripped his heart. Would this choice shatter their lives, or was it the salvation they desperately needed? And at that moment, the ground quaked again, a fury of uncontrollable energy. Thrumming through the diner, holding the fate of all three in its grasp. As Marcus reached down, ready to leap into the unknown, a shout pierced the air behind him. Marcus! Don't you dare! Could he face the dark heart of the mystery and uncover the truth, whatever it might cost? The voice sliced through the chaos, pulling Marcus back from the edge. He turned, his heart still racing, searching for the source. Jake stood at the entrance, wide-eyed, hands balled into fists. His breath came in heavy gasps, and Marcus could see the desperation etched on his face. Don't do it! Jake shouted again, but Marcus's resolve only strengthened. His mind swirled with the thought of Jenny, lost in that darkness. The shadows seemed to shriek, a cacophony of torment that beckoned him closer. Get out of here! Marcus yelled back, backing away from the chasm. He felt the ground tremble beneath him with every pulse of energy radiating from the fissure. I can't leave her. But Jake stepped forward, urgency spilling from his lips. She's not down there. You have to believe me. The diner, it's wrong, Marcus. It's twisting everything you know. Evelyn stood outside, gripping the book tightly, torn between her growing sense of dread and the hope of a solution. Words echoed in her mind, prayers lingering like smoke. You must choose, Marcus. She shouted, her voice breaking through the heavy air, filled with an unfamiliar strength. You need to listen to him. This isn't just about Jenny. It's about everything. The fissure pulsated, brightening with a feral intensity as though it sensed their fear. The very walls seemed to quiver under its influence. What if we're swallowed whole? Marcus wondered, a pit forming in his stomach. What if stepping back means losing everything? The shadowy face returned, twisting, shifting, eyes dark and hollow. Past and present intertwine. You cannot escape your fate, it whispered, sending icy tendrils of terror wrapping around Marcus's heart. Don't listen to it. Jake yelled, pulling Marcus away from the abyss's edge. Evelyn is right. It feeds on your emotions. On your doubts. In that moment, Evelyn's fingers flew over the pages of the book, searching for any sign, any guidance. Please, she breathed. There has to be something that can help us, and just as she found a passage, the diner shuddered as if life itself was striking back. Glass shattered nearby, and the light flickered ominously. No! Evelyn cried, her voice barely above a whisper. Don't fight it. Give it what it wants. What's that supposed to mean? Marcus shouted, panic gnawing at him. What does it want from me? Your choice, came the haunting reply from deep within the darkness. Time seemed to freeze. They all stood at a precipice, not just of the diner, but of their very souls. Seeking Jenny would mean diving into that pit of despair, throwing himself into the void. Or turning away, plunging into the acceptance of loss. Either way, something would shatter. I can't leave her. Marcus choked out, the weight of fate pressing down on him. The fissure split open wider, spewing forth smoke that engulfed the room. Through the chaos, Marcus could hear faint cries, his memories, his fears, his long-held beliefs. It was all converging into a single, terrifying thought. What if the truth was darker than he ever imagined? As shadows wrapped around him, Marcus felt a pull, an urge to leap into the unknown. How could he make the right choice in such uncertainty? And as the air thickened, he looked into the eyes of his friends, searching for strength amongst their own fears. Could they face the darkness together? Just then, a sudden realization gripped Evelyn. The book. It knows. She shouted, raising it high, its pages shimmering with an innate energy. But in that critical moment, the choice hung heavy in the air. Would they uncover a truth that could save or destroy them all? And as the smoke thickened, shrouding the diner in ominous shadows. A terrifying thought crossed Marcus's mind: what if the answer had been within them all along? What hadn't they seen? Time was running out. The decision loomed as the fissure roared louder, intoxicating their senses. What would happen if they failed to act? The air crackled with tension as the fissure's roar reached a deafening crescendo. Marcus felt his heart thundering in his chest, like a wild animal desperate to escape. Shadows loomed larger, wrapping around him, whispering dark secrets meant to unearth every doubt, every fear he had buried deep within. Evelyn was right, the diner was not just a place. It was a living entity, thrumming with history and regret. With every word Marcus had spoken to Jenny, every moment they had shared, the diner absorbed it all, spinning their memories into twisted forms. How could stepping into that chasm be anything but surrender? What if we don't fight? Jake's voice was tinged with desperation, pulling Marcus from his spiraling thoughts. What if giving in means freeing ourselves to find another way? Maybe this isn't the end, maybe it's a beginning. Are you insane? The panic surged through Marcus like electricity. You want to dive into the abyss? You're suggesting we just give up? Evelyn's eyes blazed with a fierce resolve. No, we give in to the truth, Marcus. The truth is the way out, it's the only way. She flipped through the pages of the book, frantically seeking something that could help them. Suddenly, a blinding light erupted from the book, illuminating their surroundings. The shadows momentarily recoiled, revealing glimpses of memories swirling like forgotten dreams. There were visions, each one more unsettling than the last, a diner filled with laughter that turned to screams, plates crashing as memories bled into one another. Look! Jake pointed, his voice rising above the din of chaos. It's showing our past. What past? Marcus shouted, desperation seeping into every word. We can't let the past decide our future. But the figures emerged clearer now, flashes of joyful times, fleeting moments with Jenny, golden laughter that twisted into anguish, each snapshot a testament to the love and life they had built, all now mangled by the darkness. A chill ran down his spine. Was this the truth they needed to confront? Those memories are powerful, Evelyn breathed, her voice trembling. But they don't define us unless we let them. The fissure pulsed, resonating with their rising fears, a dangerous symbiosis that threatened to pull them all under. Each moment they hesitated felt like an eternity. Time stretched, the instinct to flee battling alongside the urge to stand firm. What if we made the fight personal? Jake proposed, his bravado masking his own fear. Take back control. Each of us face our demons together. What if he dove into the darkness with both friends right there with him? Could they hold on to each other, forging strength from their collective fears? A flicker of hope sparked within Marcus, but was it worth the risk? Do it, Marcus whispered, a cold certainty creeping into his bones. Let us break the cycle. Evelyn nodded, gripping the book tighter. On 3, she said, the determination in her eyes echoing within him. 1, 2. Before she could speak another number, the ground trembled violently, forcing them to brace against the uncertainty as all eyes locked onto the swirling abyss. 3. They shouted together, and as if in response, the shadows surged, a dark wave crashing down. In the depths of that chaos, a realization hit Marcus harder than the wall of energy surrounding them. What if at the heart of the darkness lay a truth that could set them free? What if within the very din of despair rested their salvation? As the darkness descended, enveloping them in a chilling embrace, he steeled himself. Would they uncover the darkest parts of themselves and escape? Or would they find themselves lost forever in the suffocating grip of the diner's shadows? As everything went dark, he could only wonder, what awaited them on the other side of this terrifying choice? As the suffocating darkness swallowed them, Marcus felt a jolt, a rush of icy fear that coursed through him like a freight train. He waited for their bodies to collide with a hard surface, but instead, the sensation morphed into weightlessness and stillness, interrupted only by the distant echo of laughter that clawed at the edges of his mind. Marcus! A voice pierced the silence, sharp and familiar. It was Jenny. The sound pulled him closer, igniting a surge of longing that battled the darkness, filling every crack of his soul. "Jenny!" he shouted, panic lacing his voice. "Where are you?" He tried to reach out, but his hands fell through the void, grasping nothing but empty air. All around him, a mosaic of memories danced just beyond sight, the diner's neon lights flickering, families laughing over milkshakes, and the warm hum of conversation that masked deep-seated sadness. But then he heard the laughter again, echoing like a twisted melody, turning with each note more sinister. He remembered the moments, sun-soaked afternoons with Jenny, sprinkled with laughter and friendship. But those memories were rapidly twisting, dark shadows creeping in and snatching away joy. "I won't lose you again," he called into the darkness, desperation tightening around his chest. He spun in place, trying to grasp onto the threads of light that flickered before him. Suddenly, a vision erupted before his eyes. The diner, vibrant yet distorted. A seamless fusion of time where past, present, and future bled together. He saw Jake, the embodiment of doubt, leaning over the counter, his face a mask of terror. Evelyn stood beside him, fighting invisible forces, her body rigid against something unseen. A crashing sound made Marcus jump. He turned to find a shattered plate exploding into shards that felt like ice piercing his skin. The remnants of their memories were haunting fragments scattered on the floor like confessions left unacknowledged. "Together." Jake's voice boomed, vibrant with fervor. "This darkness thrives on loneliness. Hold on to each other." A flicker of light appeared, weaving through the shadows, and he felt an urge to follow it, igniting a flicker of resolve within him. It was the thread of their past, tugging them toward the truth, not just their memories but their emotions intertwined. With a deep breath, he roared back, "We're not afraid. We aren't losing." He felt the spark igniting in the space around him, resonating with the collective strength of his friends. "Marcus!" Evelyn cried, reaching for him. Their hands collided, exchanging warmth that radiated against the cold chaos that cloaked them. They clutched each other, their bond forming a barrier against the oppressive shadows. "Let us confront the truth," he shouted, the conviction consuming him. The darkness shuddered in response, veins of red and black screaming as the truth bubbled beneath the surface, ready to erupt. Images expanded into a blinding light, a revelation patiently waiting for them to recognize its power. As the intensity soared, whispers filled the air, faces of anguish, regrets personified, voices both familiar and starkly foreign merged into a chaotic symphony. "Face it. Remember who you are," echoed someone from the back. It was Janine, a fleeting figure from his past. The diner flashed to her bright smile, illuminating the dark corners of his heart with warmth, and in that split second, as if the cosmos paused to witness, Marcus understood, "We are defined by our choices, not our fears." The realization splintered through him, reversing the hold of the shadows. Just as it seemed the tide was turning, the swirling void surged violently, threatening to engulf them. The ground beneath quaked, resonating with their growing conviction, but the pressure thickened, sending a palpable wave of terror crashing over both hope and despair. "Hold tight!" Evelyn cried, their grip tightening in the chaos, but then the light blinked, and abruptly, Jake vanished, leaving behind only a shuddering echo of bravery. "No!" Marcus shouted, an anchor of sheer dread pulling him down as darkness began to spiral over them once again. They had to make a choice, reclaim their truth or lose each other in the abyss of despair. As another wave of darkness swept over them, he screamed into the void, "What do we really fear?" The shadows coiled tighter, electric with uncertainty, and in that disorienting swirl of light and shadow, a distant figure began to emerge. The overwhelming question hung in the air: could it be a ghost from their history, or was it someone they had never left behind? With terror gripping his heart and hope flickering on the edge, Marcus strained to see who or what was on the brink of revealing their fate. What awaited him, Jake, and Evelyn? The answer had to lie just within reach, but at what cost? The figure emerged from the swirling shadows like a spectator drawn to a stage of chaos. It was a blur of grim features, a face half-formed, eyes glowing with an ethereal light that pierced through the darkness. Marcus's breath hitched, the air around him thickened as dread coiled tighter around his chest. "Who are you?" He managed to gasp, each word feeling like shards of glass scraping against his throat. "Don't you recognize me?" The figure asked, voice smooth yet piercing, echoing as if it sprung from every direction at once. The laugh that followed was chilling and familiar. It twisted his stomach into knots. Suddenly, clarity flashed through Marcus. These were echoes of lost connections, memories that had been shrouded in guilt and regret. "Lizzie," he whispered, the name escaping his lips like a prayer. "Is it really you?" The figure paused, a flicker of recognition sparking in its eyes. "You left me, Marcus. You left us all." The shadows pulsated, wrapping around them tighter as if feeding off the pain that drifted through Marcus's memories. "No!" he yelled, the word clawing its way out, a cry of rebellion. "I didn't mean to. I thought what?" Lizzie's voice slashed through him, fierce and unyielding. "Thought you could run from your past. You can't escape what you've done. You can't escape me." The world around them morphed violently, shifting between the diner and the dark void. The laughter from memories echoed, turning menacing, wrapping around him like binders of despair. He felt the weight of his missed chances bearing down on him. Evelyn clung to Marcus, her eyes wide with fear, understanding dawning there. "Marcus, remember. We need to face this together," she urged, her voice trembling but steadied. As the darkness lunged toward them, he felt it, the connection of shared fear binding them, powerful enough to dissolve the anguish clawing at their hearts. "Lizzie, I'm here. We all are," Marcus yelled, determination igniting a flame within. "You think you can fix this?" The figure's expression twisted with disbelief, flickering like a candle in a high wind. "You'll always be haunted. Face it, Marcus." The laughter morphed into cries, voices rising in a cacophony of misery, swirling in a rapturous whirlwind. "You can't outrun your fears." Jake's voice echoed through the tempest, a haunting reminder of his absence. Marcus closed his eyes, envisioning the bonds they forged, the laughter ringing sweet and bright. "No. This isn't the end. We're not afraid. We're here for each other." He squeezed Evelyn's hand harder, channeling everything he had into that moment. Then, with a deep breath, he roared, "We define our fears." Light burst from their clasped hands like fireworks, radiating against the oncoming shadows. The swirling black erupted into blinding colors, the divide between pain and hope dancing dangerously close. Shadows began to withdraw, revealing the contours of their memories, bright windows of laughter, joy overshadowing heartache. "Embrace it," he shouted, willing the fragments of their past to culminate into a single moment of understanding. But just as the light enveloped them, Lizzie's face distorted into agony. "Remember," she whispered, her voice fading, dissolving into the roar of chaos. "You can't outrun the truth." The scream erupted from Marcus, drowning in the rolling storm. Panic surged through him, he fought against the clamor of voices, wrestling for clarity. With one last grasp at the fading figures, he felt the grip of despair clawing back, threatening to strip away their newfound resolve. The blinding light faltered for a heartbeat, and in that instant, Marcus heard a new sound, metal scraping against the ground. A sharp clang followed, vibrating through his bones. "What now?" he managed, spinning around as the ground beneath shimmered ominously. Something emerged, shadowy and indistinct, but tangible. Laughter twisted in the air again, now sharper, more agonizing. Instinctively, his heart raced. It was a sound that beckoned, teasing him toward a revelation lurking just out of sight. And as shadows crept closer, another question breathed life around them, whispering like a vile charm. What truth were they truly running from, and would it be enough to save them, or would they plunge deeper into oblivion? The darkness pressed in around them, thick and suffocating. Marcus, Evelyn, and the fading echoes of their past were trapped in a battle against shadows that seemed to speak to their deepest fears. Yet together, they formed a resolute circle, holding on tightly to one another. "Focus," Evelyn urged, her voice trembling but fierce. This is our moment. We define what's next. As if they were interconnected magnets, beams of light exploded from their clasped hands, illuminating the oppressive blackness that sought to engulf them. But the darkness raged, trying to snuff out their flame, intertwining memories of pain, loss, and regret. They felt the weight of every moment they lived, every choice they made, bearing down upon them. You can't escape the truth. Came Lizzie's haunting echo. Accept it or be lost forever. No. Marcus roared, shaking his head to chase away the corroding despair. We remember our joy. Our love. This isn't the end. The light surged in response, its brilliance overwhelming the shadows that clawed at them. Flickers of memories danced before them, childhood laughter, genuine camaraderie, joyous celebration under the summer sun. With every flash, more warmth flooded through them, intertwining their hearts, driving back the shadows. Suddenly, Evelyn thrust the book into the air, its pages fluttering as if possessed. Look! She shouted, pointing to a passage. This holds the key. We need to confront our fears head-on. The words glowed brightly, illuminating the remaining darkness and sending a ripple of power coursing through them. They crowded around her, gripping each other's hands tighter, determination igniting within. On the count of 3, Marcus shouted, invigorated. We face our truth. Evelyn nodded, her gaze fierce and unwavering. 1, 2, 3. As they shouted the final number, the fissure beneath them erupted in brilliant light, threatening to consume everything, but they didn't flinch. No more running, no more hiding. They would confront the very thing that haunted them. A cold voice echoed, but Marcus cut it off. Lies from the past can't control us anymore. He shouted, fisting his free hand. Light exploded from the book, enveloping them all, illuminating the remnants of their fears. In that radiant moment, they felt a rush through their veins, a surge of strength and clarity. The shadows reeled, shrieking in anguish as they collided with the brilliance of their combined resolve. You don't define me. Marcus shouted, unleashing every ounce of pain he ever endured. We are our choices. We create our future. Evelyn echoed her commitment, matching his intensity. And we won't be chained by our pasts. Blinking away tears, Marcus turned and saw the darkness ebbing, battling to stay alive but weakened. They dug in, feeding off their memories of joy, laughter, and love. They became catalysts of light, driving back the despair that sought to claim their lives. Together they forged ahead, refusing to be victims of their pasts. And just when the darkness began to dissipate, the figure of Lizzie materialized again, fiery and ever-present. Face me. She declared, the pain evident in her voice. No. Marcus's voice trembled. You're not real. You're a part of our fear, but we won't lose ourselves to you. The darkness faltered as they pressed on, forming a barrier around Marcus where his heart swelled with determination. You don't take my power. I reclaim my truth. The concealed truth shimmered in the air, battling the shadows trying to pull them apart. Like a dam bursting, the colors of hope crashed against the shadow-filled abyss, changing everything. In that cascading brilliance, Lizzie's figure began to dissolve, surrendering to the radiance. Fine, but remember the truth you seek will shape everything, she whispered, the finality of her tone melting into the luminous chaos. Together. He bellowed, arms raised high, the air crackled, and finally, the shadows collapsed, pulled back into the fissure, leaving them breathless and trembling in the aftermath. Those swirling remnants of dread faded, revealing the shimmering light of day once more. The diner stood intact, though muted as if the memories of their fears had retreated at last. Jenny! Marcus gasped, spinning around to find her standing just beyond the table, seemingly untouched by the darker chapters of the night. Relief flooded through him, connecting them once again in a cycle of love. Marcus! She rushed to him, enveloping him in a heartfelt embrace. I thought I lost you. No, he whispered fiercely, holding her, we faced it together. Evelyn and Jake, too, exchanged relieved glances, knowing the threads of their lives had been woven into something better, stronger. Shadows of doubt lingered but were subdued under their shared light that in each other's arms. They felt the fragments of their fears dissipate, memories transforming into lessons, and experiences forged anew. As daylight poured in through the diner's windows, they stood renewed, savoring the truths they had faced and the strength they had found. The connection they forged was their salvation not just from the darkness, but also from within. Knowing that the shadows would always linger was no longer daunting, they had transformed them into stepping stones. Together, Evelyn repeated softly, "We will write our next chapter." And as they prepared to step back into the world outside, the lingering thought of fate and choice washed over them, a reminder that they were the authors of their own lives, empowered to face whatever came next. Now, my friends, if you enjoyed this thrilling conclusion and want to dive deeper into more exclusive stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat, you need to subscribe immediately. Don't miss a single adventure. Smash that like button now. Your support completely fuels this journey. Help us reach more eager souls. And flood the comments section below with your thoughts about the ending. We can't wait to hear your reactions and theories. Lastly, don't keep this twisted tale to yourself. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Spread the thrill and the chills. This is your moment to show your support, so take action. Don't wait even one more second to share the excitement.